Welcome to Discover Marshalltown. I'm your host, Denny Gravenbauer. Here in Discover Marshalltown, we like to talk about interesting things, interesting people in and around our community. And today, a very interesting topic, a very interesting subject with the Iowa River Brewery, its owner, Roger Brown. Roger, welcome to Discover Marshalltown.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Now, I got to ask you, what goes on at Iowa River Brewery?
Boy, lots of things, actually. We started now, it's been 3 years ago we started up, and one of the things that we do that we kind of are known for is making different beer constantly. So we're over 320 different beers now that we've made in 3 years.
Now, you have all them on all at once?
No. We usually have about 13 on tap at any given time.
Mm-hmm. Now, again, as Craig and I was talking earlier, I think about a brewing company, Budweiser, Miller, the big breweries. How did you get started in this business? And are you from the Marshalltown area?
Well, I'm from Conrad.
I see.
About
okay.
12 miles north of here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how did you get a brewery interested to want to come to Marshalltown?
Well, it was just one of those things over my career. I've had a lot of different jobs and worked in a lot of different positions, and always wanted to kind of do something for myself. Now, a few years back, I started doing some home brewing and kind of got into that,
Really?
the feel for how things went, and started experimenting more. A lot of people will start off with home brew kits. I think we did one kit, then I went right to all grain after that. I just wanted to really get a feel for how the ingredients worked and how the yeasts work.
How big a vat? How big an area? What's it take to brew 300 and some different flavors of beer?
A lot of time and patience. But we do about 150 some gallons at a time, any given time.
Really?
Which is about what they call a 5-barrel system.
I see. So now, does that 150 gallons last a week, a day, 2 days?
It could last a month and a half to 2 months, typically.
So you had the wild idea, you had the one kit, you made your own brew. Why did you think you could market it and sell it? What got you excited in going commercially on this?
I don't know, to tell you the truth. I mean, maybe that's not a very good answer, but.
Well, that's being honest. But something had to drive you. What we're going to do here today, Roger, we're going to find out how did we get that out of you?
Well, I think really what it was is just I had worked for different corporations for long enough, and I just felt like there was a time that, for me, I wanted to do something for myself and see if I could make it work. Now, my family is from Marshalltown. Back in the 1950s or so, my mother graduated from here, so we've always been local to Marshalltown, and just thought, why not give it a try?
Just something
to do, I guess.
What kind of atmosphere do you have up there? And there again, let's just make reference. You serve no other beer.
Right.
I mean, just your own.
Yeah, there is times we'll bring in some foreign beer, maybe from Belgium or somewhere in Europe.
I see.
Have a
But I mean, we don't have the national.
Oh goodness.
National.
Yes,
no. Everything is Marshalltown brewed.
Right, yeah, with Marshalltown water and these hands, and it's interesting, really, when you start talking about the brewing aspect of it. We'll get people come in all the time and say, you must be living the dream and having a great time doing this. And it is a lot of fun to do. But there's so many different organizations and agencies that are involved in the quality control of it, and then the taxes that go into it, and then the alcohol support, as well as the licensing. And it's just amazing what goes into running a brewery. But you're asking about the atmosphere. So we took a building that was an IT building in downtown Marshalltown and converted it into a brewery. So if you look at it from the outside, it looks like just a generic Morton building. But if you were to walk inside, we completely remodeled everything, from staining the floor to building the furniture. We have an old cedar canoe hanging from the ceiling, gooseneck lighting in there. And the bar is made out of actually a telephone pole, barnwood from my grandparents' farm, a John Deere planter, all kinds of miscellaneous things that we would have had on our farm. And I started just putting things together and building stuff. And
I know our ambassadors have been in there a couple different times and had our year-end celebration there, and it really is it's small,
right? Yep.
But it's also kind of gives that homey atmosphere.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like I guess my thought to it is the bigger it is, the more people in there, the emptier it can feel. So
sure,
the smaller
yeah,
it is,
good point. That's a good point.
You get it half capacity in there, and it feels busy and comfortable and cozy, and it's just a nice place and something that we could do, and it feels like we're doing a good job of it so far.
All right, for our viewers, take me through, how do I make beer?
Oh goodness, well.
And I need to know, because I don't know what I'm drinking. I guess what I'm drinking.
Well, it depends on how many details you want, but basically you're going to start with some form of a barley or a rye, or oats.
Okay, what's your most popular?
Most popular beer?
Yeah, that you made
Well,
and you serve.
goodness, we've done so many. I suppose right now I have requests always for this porter we make called the Churchill Porter. It's a nice dark beer with just a little bit of bitterness to it, and it has a nice chocolatey, roasty flavor.
Is beer supposed to be bitter?
Yeah, because the hops will add bitterness to the beer to begin with. So it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for mainstream beer, then it's what they call a session beer, so it's easier to drink, more like a Budweiser or a Miller product, which I'm not endorsing, by the way.
I didn't say the name. You said their names. I didn't say it. So okay, we're going to make this most popular beer that you serve.
So I think it's probably right now, it's probably that Churchill Porter. Well, without looking back at the recipe to tell you all the ingredients in it, we're going to pick a bunch of barley. We're going to actually mill it, so we're going to put it through a crushing process, and then we're going to heat a bunch of water. We're going to add the water and the grains together. Let that sit for maybe 60 to 90 minutes or so we can get the starches to convert to sugar. After that, we boil it, so it takes some of that protein, heavy proteins left in the conversion out of the beer, so it's a little bit cleaner and clearer looking. At that point, we're going to add a bunch of hops to it, and then we're going to ferment the beer after the end of it, after we chill it.
How long does it take it then before the end product you can actually consume?
Typically, I would say the average is probably 21 days.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
So if it takes 21 days, then you've got inventory that this one's at 19 days, this one's at 15 days.
Right.
So you're always rotating. And does a beer that you're making like that have an expiration date?
It just depends. We don't bottle anything, so in the kegs, the longer it sits, the less tasty it's going to be.
I see.
So what we kind of do is start with that certain quantity, so that way within that 6 months or so, it's kind of used up to begin with. So I don't really run into that issue very often.
Now I remember when you first had this brainstorm of putting this brewery and this, you had some hoops you had to jump through.
Yeah,
I'm going to be honest with you. I think you handled it very well, very applicable, because you really knew what you wanted and you were very patient because there were some times in there when it was kind of tough. But I know you worked with the medic program in Marshalltown, and you really hung in there and made it work.
Right. Yeah. Tom Dimerly from the medic was fantastic to work with. Kind of help us set up some different meetings with people so we could talk about what the project was and what our goal really was to achieve. And I think when people start talking about a brewery or a bar, they think about 2 o'clock in the morning. They think about some of the things that go along with late nights, and that's not a type of place that we are. So through their guidance, it was really helpful to, I guess, put the plan together and then have it all work, I guess, in a nice logical order. And that was a great process to go through. We did have to go through a zoning change, and that took a month and a half or so to do. And then there was a law that was on the books, or an ordinance on the books, I should say, had been there for, I don't know, 70 or 80 years or something like that. What was interesting about it is I think there's maybe six districts in Marshalltown, does that sound right? And of the 6, only one of them, it was the downtown district that had that ordinance that really was in effect. So all the other 5 districts had sort of, I guess, banished that ordinance from years ago. So anyway, they went to the city council and they were willing to change that, so we were able to open our business.
And there again, the patience that you had, and to make it all work and make it suitable for everyone involved in it.
I'm glad it did. I mean, we've met a lot of great people and a lot of great local people from Marshalltown, and people from all over the world have been there, and something that you hoped would happen with the business, and I'm glad it is happening. So.
Where do you buy your product?
Well,
the barley truck come in and.
Well, kind of. I'm not like a bigger one, so I'm not buying semi-loads, but I'll order 5,000 or 6,000 pounds at a time, and due to some of the constraints with the building, the guy parks his semi maybe 20 or 30 feet from the building, and we hand unload it one bag at a time. So
is that right? Yeah. Now, is the same barley go in all the beer?
Not always, no.
I mean, and then what makes a different taste to it, I guess?
So a lot of it is going to be the color is going to be impacted by the type of barley that's in it. Will it be a roasted barley or a chocolate barley or a black barley? Very small amounts of that color can actually change the texture and the flavor of the beer. We use a honey malt in that just has sort of this creamy texture to it, and I use a little bit of black patent malt with it, so I get a nice creamy beer, but yet a dark beer
Really?
that's easy for people to drink when most people wouldn't drink adult beer.
Wow. Now, you know, you've really worked, you know, again, the community kind of worked for you to make this thing work. You've kind of are doing some neat things, I think, for the community, in the community, for the community. And one of them is your association with the Veterans Home.
Right.
Tell us a little something about how that got started, how it's moved on and progressed, and where you are today with it.
Sure. Well, really my interest with it has always been there. We actually have one beer that comes in and out of our tap room that we make. It's called the George Hopper IPA. It's actually named after my grandfather, my mother's father. He fought in the First World War in Verdun in France, and I thought what a great thing to do once we open this brewery is to honor him with a beer. So, but it really started a long time ago with just paying attention to old music and old pictures that we would see around the house, and then my grandfather, we have his old helmet that he wore over in France.
Really?
And then probably 15 or 16 years ago, I suppose, I went out and started interviewing different veterans here throughout the state of Iowa. And at some point, I've probably interviewed maybe 50, 60 different people and gathered their stories and letters they had written back and forth with the intent of finishing a project. Well, then I got married and had kids, so that kind of went on the back burner for a while. And I, as this business kind of got up and running, I thought, what a great way to continue to work on that project that I love so much, is to have local veterans or veterans from anywhere come in and talk on a Sunday afternoon, kind of tell about how they grew up, why they went to the military, some of the things they went through, and they can talk about things they experienced, good or bad, whatever they want to do, kind of a low pressure situation for them. But that's really why I got into it. I just love the feeling of what these guys have gone through or women have gone through, because I have the chance to sit here and brew beer and do the things that I do every day, because people are fighting for freedom and have done things for us in the past. But
So you feature a certain veteran, once a week, once a month?
It just depends. For us, I usually post things on Facebook, or we send out emails if people want to get on an email list. Or
Do you usually get a crowd?
Yeah, we'll get anywhere between 10 to 40 people will show up to listen.
And that's got to be quite the thrill for the veteran that's coming in there telling their story.
Yeah, I think so. I think some of them get a little nervous about telling their story, because I think people have experienced things that they want to kind of forget as well. But each person who's done this, who's in that situation, has been very grateful about the experience and having a chance to kind of open up a little bit and share what they want to talk about.
Sure. So it'd be kind of fun to just go out there and meet those guys and gal and ladies, and do you pick out a story? I mean, I'm sure you kind of probably pre-interview them before they come up, just to hear what their story is, and is there any stories you don't ever accept to come up, or maybe like you say, some of them maybe can't tell that story?
Yeah, I kind of let the people. Well, I usually interview everybody privately the first time, and maybe twice, and I kind of go over a list of questions and I'll ask them, is there anything they don't want to talk about, and let them decide. And at that point, if that comes up and they want to, leave topics off the table, then I make sure that the crowd knows that beforehand. So we all respect everybody's dignity and the right to their story. So.
Sure. Now, what's your capacity up there? Because when you start saying 40 people, I just want to know what you.
Just under 50.
And it's a small. You got nice couches. I think when our first ribbon cutting, your wife and 2 kids at that time was up there, and they tell me that you've got an open mic night. Now we've got some entertainers here in the studio. Now I don't know if you want to audition them or not, but tell me about this open mic.
Sure. Well, typically what it is on any given night, or really we started out on Thursday nights, but we bought enough equipment now, it's kind of set up any given time. But it's kind of there for people in the community or people traveling through on business, whatever, to come in and sit down and hook up and play whatever they want to play for a half an hour, 45 minutes, sing and have a good old time.
So I don't have to bring I got to bring my own guitar. I hook into your sound system,
right?
And then we can sit there and kind of jam around and
right.
Is it competitive? I mean, you get one guy like Craig that would be better than a guy like me, and then is it one of those things where people?
It hasn't been competitive yet. It's a hit or miss when people want to do it. I think really for a lot of the individuals, it's just a platform for them to maybe perform in front of 5 people or 20 people and just get the experience of playing. And you get a lot of really good talent.
Do you do a lot is it karaoke? I mean, if you bring your own music in, play that and sing it? like
know,
that? Not really karaoke, but at least you're doing you're singing over the voiceover and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, really, we're set up to do anything that people
Mm-hmm.
want. We typically don't do the karaoke thing just because we haven't ever really done it.
Sure.
But people are welcome to kind of come in and utilize the system however they want to use it.
Now, when you went to research, when you started this and you had that wild idea and you thought about it and you made it come to do you go out and research any other properties or how other small brewery type situations were run?
I suppose I did just a little bit of research, mostly on maybe equipment and processes per se. But for the most part, for me, I do a lot better just doing and struggling and then figuring things out and perfecting it and getting better at it. And so that's really how I do things.
Basically jumping in the vat and
Pretty
finding
much.
your way to get out of there, I suppose.
If I do too much planning, then I won't do it.
Then you talk yourself out of it, huh?
Right.
Well, what's been the most fun so far?
Oh, goodness. I suppose just the reception we've had from all the different people who have been in from all over the world. There's
All over the world?
Yeah, we've people from China have been there, South Africa. I mean, there's been people from
Really?
Europe. Yeah.
Really?
There's a lot of local businesses who have people who come in and travel into town. So it's good when they're able to support us as well and get to meet people that speak a different language and get to know them a little bit.
Get to know, it's interesting because normally everybody wants to kind of have their own little hangout and stuff, but yours is a specialty type of a hangout. There again, the few times I've been in there on different occasions, people I go in there with know more about it than I do because it is a very very special place.
Yeah, I think it's very unique in a way that I guess beer has become sort of, I'm going to use the word pretentious, kind of like wine has been for a lot of years. The tasting the flavors and reviews and ratings and so forth. And my whole intent for the brewery and the project here in Marshalltown was really to focus on a lot of different flavors and having a place that's like if you were to come to my house and sit in the kitchen and we were to drink a couple of beers together. And that's really the atmosphere I've been shooting for, and I think we achieved that. So I don't think it's an environment that singles one type of individual out. It kind of welcomes everybody in.
And there again, it seems like when you're in there, everybody knows everybody, even though you don't know everybody. I mean, it's just kind of a very friendly. I don't want to say low key in disrespect, but it's a very friendly, low key type of place where everybody is just everybody.
Right. Well, I've had dozens or maybe even hundreds of people comment the same way, where you could have a lawyer sitting here and a doctor there, anesthesiologist, or you could have a guy who works for the city and drives a bus, or a guy who's a person who's a teacher, and it doesn't really matter because when I'm there working, if I know something unique about each individual, we'll talk about it with the people talking, and it's just a nice environment that people can feel comfortable in.
What kind of hours do you have?
Right now we're open Tuesdays through Sundays. Usually it's late afternoon up until about 9 o'clock or so.
Really?
So it's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, basically 4 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and then Friday 3 to 10, or until the last person leaves. And then on Saturdays noon to 10 o'clock at night, or until the last person leaves. On Sundays, usually about 2 to 6. And Sundays are kind of nice because people can come in and get a growler filled before a basketball game or a football game, or come in and hang out for the afternoon, or come in and watch one of these veteran interviews.
Do you ever run out of a product?
Oh, constantly.
So if you run out of that product, when does your production time start? Because I can see the fun part being serving it, the working part is the making it.
Yeah, that's not as much fun.
Yeah, I was going to say that probably keeps you on your toes. So when do you produce? When do you produce your?
Well, usually when things are working right, and of course we have a family, so that kind of cuts into some time during the days and so forth. But we'll try to brew a day or two a week, and that cycle continues every week.
I see.
For 52 weeks a year.
Wow, that's quite the production of everything, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to probably be making a lot more of it, but it's more interesting I think, to create different flavors. When people come in, there's always something different that's going to be on the tap handle somewhere.
Kind of in closing, the person that's sitting out there thinking, okay, I'm going to go up there. I've never been up there before. What should I do? Where are you located, first of all?
All right, so it's 107 North 1st Street. I guess the best way to describe it is it's just like a half a block north of the Coliseum.
Okay.
Right behind the Centra Link building.
The old phone company. Yeah.
Right behind there.
All right, and then how am I going to know what to order?
Well, we have a tasting sheet that's there, It has a little bit of a description of what the beers are, and if it's not enough description there, usually I or one of the bartenders that are there can talk about the beers a little bit, and kind of get you down the path of picking a beer that you might enjoy. Or, better yet, you could just get a little 5-ounce sample of a lot of different ones.
And I know in the times that I've been up there, I've heard you say, what is your preference? And I'm sure you're dealing with enough now that somebody tells you, I want something real heavy or real light. I don't want it to, you know. And so you can probably, being in the production side of it, also you can go right to what they're pointing you to and what they want.
Yeah, sometimes.
And then be happy with it.
Yeah, sometimes. I tell you what, I find the most unique thing about the beer tasting and people is once in a while we'll have big parties in there for anniversaries or birthdays or a work party for a different company in town or whatever. But you'll inevitably get the people who say, I want a beer just like one of the mainstream beers.
Really? Okay.
And I say, okay, well, I tell you what, how about the black ale we make? They're like, well, I'm not going to drink anything that's really dark or heavy looking or heavy tasting. I'm like, well, we make is dark, but it's very light and easy to drink. And I would say probably 9 times out of 10, a person who is typically used to drinking a session beer, one of the main producers of beer, I can get them turned into actually drinking multiple pints of that because it's just such an easy beer to drink, even though it's dark.
Why Iowa River Brewing Company?
Well, obviously they have a river here in town.
Okay, but that makes it sound like water. No, I don't make it. We got good water. Marshalltown does have
absolutely.
exceptionally good water. And how did that name?
Well, really, I mean, just in naming anything, I didn't want anything that's just sort of like a catchy phrase.
Sure.
That was just a fly-by-night sort of a name. And so, I'd spent some time really thinking about what made the most sense, and the Lincoln Highway and Iowa River, and some other things about the town, that have been historic here and have been there for a long time. And I just felt like the Iowa River Brewing Company made a lot of sense to, it just doesn't sound like a name that's here today, gone tomorrow, hopefully. So
I'll tell you what, you've got a neat business up there, a unique business up there. I guess that's the best way to say it. And I think you've been a big asset to our community because you've kind of taken that part of town, which is not much promotion or things going on up there, and you made a usage for that building behind the telephone building.
Right.
And it's good to see you succeed. Good to see you enjoy yourself and doing it. And thanks for bringing it to Marshalltown.
Sure. Well, I was going to say one last thing about our place.
Yep.
Even though it's small, we are adding, and drive by there or stop in and get a beer, but you'll see this huge deck that we're building out front.
Oh, really?
So that's going to be ready hopefully by April, ready to go. And then, hopefully we'll have a lot of music events out there over the summertime.
Oh, sure.
Places for different and bigger parties to be had. Anyway, we're looking forward to that capacity and that location getting even used to more extent.
Well, again, thank you for doing it. Thanks for coming on Discover Marshalltown.
Thanks.
Because it's always interesting to learn new things that's going on in our community. So, Roger, you are definitely one of those new things, and a good thing too. I've been with Roger Brown, the Iowa River Brewing Company here in the Marshalltown area. And we want to thank you for tuning in for Discover Marshalltown. Each and every week we're going to be bringing some new guests and talking about things in our community, around our community, and for our community. My name is Denny Gravenbauer, your host. We'll see you next time.